Welcome to the Classic Sports Review. It's episode 1, where we look at some of the most intriguing moments ever in the history of sports. What we're going to do today is take you all the way back to 1986. The Boston Red Sox were a game away from clinching the World Series and winning their first since 1918. Didn't happen. We all know why, a lot of us remember. A ground ball went through Bill Buckner's legs, and they lost in extra innings to the New York Mets, who would then go... Joining me, your host, Kirk Buchner, owner and operator of NotInHallOfFame.com, got to throw that plug in there, is Glenn Paslawski. Glenn's a triathlete from Buffalo, and he's been on a lot of the committees that I've put together regarding Halls of Fame. So, Glenn and I share a similar age and a similar sarcastic attitude, so we thought, hey, let's give this a shot. Without further ado, let's bring in Glenn. What do you do when you want to sort of like come up with a sports show, a retro sports show, but you know that you're not the athlete? Well, you get an athlete. You get a triathlete. You get Glenn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How you doing today, Kirk?
Doing good. So, Glenn, you just to bring everyone up to speed into what you've competed in the triathlon in Kona.
No, I have not. I'd love to get to Kona one day. I competed at Lake Placid.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2015. Again, nothing big, just age group competition. That was my first one, and subsequently after that, I did a couple more at Lake Placid. I have a 100-mile duathlon underneath my belt. That's just the run, bike, run. And a whole slew of local sprint competitions that I've podiumed on some. And as a result, I've been invited to age group nationals a couple times. But nothing as big as Kona. That's still a work in progress. That's the dream. Okay.
Oh, hence the Twitter Kona Dreams.
Yeah, Kona Dreams. It's very hard to get. I mean, if you meet someone that's gotten to Kona, like legitimately, like didn't buy their way, and they've gotten there, they're like elite.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
I'm just kind of schlepping around, trying to have fun and enjoy the ride.
Nice. So Glenn and I know each other from our mutual work on the United States Athletic Hall of Fame and other committees that we've sort of put together at NotInHallOfFame.com. And Glenn's a sarcastic asshole like me. I hope you don't mind me saying that.
I don't know if anyone can overtake your sarcastic assholeism.
Probably not. All right.
No. but I'm there.
But you're up there. So I thought, like, okay, I've been wanting to do a retro sports show for a long time. Just looking at an old contest in whatever sport it might be, baseball, hockey, football, whatever. And I think that you and I, because, like, I'm a Canadian, but you're a Buffalonian. Is that what they call it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do they call it Buffalonian?
Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalonian.
All right. And just, like, following you on Twitter, and actually give everyone your Twitter, if you can.
What the hell is my Twitter?
Well, it's a lot.
Thanks for catching me on the spot. I know it's,
Well, it's Kona Dreams.
2 N's at Kona Dreams and a lot of S's at the end because Kona Dreams spelled correctly was already taken, so I had to go out 1, 2, 6 S's.
Okay.
Something crazy like that. But if you search Glenn and Kona Dreams, you're going to find it.
Right. Yeah. So, but if you sort of like look at you're almost like an honorary Canadian, man.
You know, I grew up on CBC Hockey Night in Canada, had the CTV on the local cable network. My little brother, who's 5 years my junior, did the whole Mr. Dress-Up thing. I never did understand that. Maybe you could explain that to me at a later date, what the infatuation was with Mr. Dress-Up. That just kind of freaked me out. But yeah, I mean, I'm currently living in downtown Buffalo, and I can see Canada from my backyard. I'm not sure if that qualifies me to run for vice president of the United States, but it sure helps Sarah Palin.
Oh, wow.
But,
well done.
Hockey's my number one love, as opposed to most other Buffalonians who are just diehard Bills fans. But yeah, hockey, Labatt beer back in the day, yeah.
Nice. So in 1986, I never even asked you, like, How old would you have been in '86? Because we're looking at the Mets Red Sox World Series Bill Buckner game. Or were you even alive?
It was funny when you presented that to put this game on the list. I'm thinking, okay, how much of this game do I really remember? I mean, obviously everyone remembers Buckner. And I think, 86, I was 11 at the time. And I had to think back. Now, back in the day, I had like an 8 p.m. bedtime curfew as 11-year-old little Glenn was sent to bed early during the week. So I had to think, are all these memories that I have of this game, is it just talking with people, seeing replays, or did I actually watch this game? So I had to go online and see, and sure enough, Saturday, October 25th, 1986 at 8:30 p.m., by golly, I bet I was able to watch that live, because it was a weekend, and there was no curfew on the weekend for 11-year-old Glenn.
That also sort of like helps me understand like what our age difference is. From that.
I never inquired about that. I don't need to know how old you are.
3 years old. I'll tell you.
I am, or how much older you are.
I'll tell you, I'm 3 years older than you. From the neck up, I got you beat. From the neck down, probably not.
Sure, we'll go. Yeah, obviously that 3 years probably makes a difference. You're in your teenage years, probably raising hell in Canada.
I wish,
and
buddy.
I'm still under the whipping chain of the parents telling me what to do.
I wish I was raising hell. No, I was a complete fucking geek in my teen years. In my 20 years, in my 30 years, the only difference is like right now nobody gives a shit. It's pretty much it.
I hear you.
Like the people who I'm friends with now, I would never have been friends with in high school, or rather more, they would never have been friends with me. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes, man. I mean, I am on Facebook. I'm not going to put out my name because, again, I joined Facebook just to be able to watch live triathlon events, and then all of a sudden they started putting up the screen where you have to join, otherwise you can't watch this. So I had made up a pseudonym and my Facebook name just to watch events. But other than that, I hate Facebook. But then I'll get the occasional, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I did go to high school with him. Ooh, you're doing that? Okay, good on you.
Yep.
So, yeah, and when you're talking high school, you're talking, geez, I graduated in 93. Mm-hmm. That's coming on 30 years ago. If my math is correct, 93, 03, 13, 23. Yeah.
As we're going to go through this sort of like baseball game, we're going to feel very, very old. Which, I mean, I don't know about yourself. I don't have a kid, so like I bounce back and forth between feeling old and not feeling old.
I just have a niece and nephew. I've escaped the child-bearing joys, and we'll leave it at that. But, yeah, I mean, just what they are doing today, it just blows my mind.
Oh, I hear it. So we have October 25th, 1986. And this is Game 6 of the World Series. The Boston Red Sox were up 3-2 on the New York Mets. I do remember watching this game. Virtually nothing of how I remember this was how it was when I looked back to that.
No, I agree. I mean, there are bits and pieces like, oh, that happened. Oh, that happened.
Right.
Oh. I mean, just a lot of that stuff. And we can get into, like, I mean, even something as simplistic as the broadcast itself.
The broadcast was awesome.
I mean, I'm watching it thinking, how did we ever watch sports back in 1986? Well, you got to be kidding me.
Well, in some ways, I feel like, how do we watch without the graphics? But also, how do we watch without Vin Scully? Vin Scully, to me, and I'm going to open up with this, is like I'm not a religious guy by any stretch. So like on the seventh day, God created this, blah blah blah. To me, but if you say the ninth day, God created Vin Scully, yep.
Sure, I'll buy that. Absolutely. And just to hop on the Vin Scully bandwagon, and again, this is probably going to show both of our ages. I mean, I'd hop on the bus at either 8 or 9 in the morning, school, lets out at 2:30 or 3, and what seemed like a forever bus ride home, which is probably only about 20 minutes. Get off at the end of the block and run home, and if it's September, October, and playoff baseball is on, you're running home, getting into the house. If the game starts at 1 p.m., you'll be able to catch the middle of the game, and there's Vin Scully calling the game. And that was my playoff childhood, remembering those games. And I want to say we were just getting cable back then, or if we had cable, it might have had like 20 channels. Either way, I mean, playoff baseball was on either your ABC or your NBC affiliates, and day games. You would run home and watch the game. And yeah, that was a very fond memory of Vin Scully coming home and watching games.
So before we go to this one here, I'll sort of like do a bit of a flashback. So in 1981, when the Expos, all right, so kids, the Montreal Expos used to be the Washington Nationals. Yes. Classic hat, classic uniform. Oh, God, I remember them rolling in the TV. This is so weird to say, rolling in the TV, because the TV was on a trolley.
Oh, you hit one of those.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So because it would have been 81, and that would have been against the Dodgers, whereas the Expos were possibly going to go to the World Series, and they didn't. But I remember more Tommy Lasorda running around, thinking like, how the fuck is he running around when he's this fat?
And then, he wasn't that fat.
Yeah, but
he got bigger.
Yeah, well, he was pretty fat then, but the years later, he was a slim, fast guy. but like I still remember that, like Blue Monday, Rick Monday, sort of like putting that out there, and bringing the Dodgers to the 1981 World Series, and God, 5 years later, here we are at this point, and it looked like it was a lock. I'm trying to remember, did I think it was a lock for the Boston to win? Kind of felt that way. I know I was watching that game. I remember I watched this full game, but I remember what I thought I remembered and how it actually went isn't quite the same thing.
Right. Well, you're talking 1986, and I forgot how dominant Roger Clemens was that year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're talking on the broadcast, he threw 130 pitches in this outing. I'm like, what are you talking about? 130 pitches. I mean, what was it, Santana a few years ago for the Mets that did 120 to get his no-hitter? And I think that was probably the most recent ridiculous pitch count by a starting pitcher in my current memory. And that ended up ruining his career. But Roger Clemens throwing down 130 pitches in a previous outing during that, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, and that's really some of the interesting things that are good, and I'd say good and bad in some ways. I think the pitch count helped pitchers and also ruined baseball.
In what, like, I think micromanaging the pitching staff has probably hurt more arms than benefited them. And I know many sound clips from Nolan Ryan basically saying, you just got to throw the ball. You got to do your long tossing. You got to get your work in to build up the arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's being done at various levels of baseball.
No, it really isn't. So let's look at the starting lineup. So Boston, Wade Boggs, third base. Marty Barrett, second. Bill Buckner. I want to say my namesake, but no. B-U-C-K. I'm B-U-C-H. I will admit that at this time, I said I did not want to have any association. We'll get there. Jim Rice, batting fourth, left field. Dwight Evans, right field, fifth. Rich Gedman. Dave Henderson, who... Oh, shit, I'll make this joke now. I thought was Florida Evans from Good Times. Okay. Thank you for those over 40 who get that joke.
I'm going to hold my tongue.
All right. Spike Owen, and then Roger Clemens for the Mets. Lenny Dykstra, center field. Wally Bachman. Keith Hernandez. Gary Carter.
Did you see Wally Bachman?
Yeah.
As in, like, Bachman Turner Overdrive?
Well, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet.
It must be the Canadian. I always pronounce it Bachman. But maybe that's just my Buffalo accent.
It's well, Bachman is with the B-A-C-H. So, yeah. No, this is me.
Okay. No, I just, you ain't seen nothing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm digressing.
No, it's all good. At the end of this, maybe I'll tell you when I actually met Randy Bachman in Winnipeg at a hotel with my dog.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, no, because I had a little corgi, and who we still have, and my corgi was a little puppy, and nobody paid attention to Mr. Bachman. So yeah, he got planked by a dog, and so like I remember this. We were both checking into the Fairmont in Winnipeg, and so it's like, all right, so we're here to check in Mr. Bachman, and then it's like, oh my God, look at this little corgi.
Oh, his poor rock star ego. Anyway, Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter batting cleanup, Darryl Strawberry, we got so much for him. Ray Knight at 6, Mookie Wilson, Rafael Santana, and Bobo Ojeda.
Damn, that's a good lineup. That is such a good lineup.
Oh my God, it was. It so was. And oh God, we're going to talk about so much more of what this Mets team should have been. I feel like they won a World Series by fluke, even though this was the most talented team of the mid-'80s.
It was, and I mean, we glossed over the pharmaceutical end of it, and maybe that played a role, but I mean, who knows?
Oh,
who knows?
We ain't glossing yet, man. We're going there.
Oh, put the children to bed.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, top of the first.
Top of the first.
This is I was reading like backstories of this, and they kind of got it wrong in some ways. So I should mention this is in New York, so this is in Shea Stadium. The Red Sox were up 3-2, so it looked like they were set to win they were probably going to win. But the thing that
Roger Clemens on the mound, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
The thing that blew my mind more than anything else was in Bill Buckner. And Buckner is going to be the star of this show. Not just a guy talking.
Obviously.
But he's batting, and then some clown just shows up in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my God, you're reading my mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a guy, and I'm trying to put this in a 2021 perspective, where a fan man or just flies into the sky from the sky, drops in. I don't even know how you even do that.
Post 9/11, if that happened today, he probably would have got shot down.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about flying a plane in a major metropolitan in airspace where you have LaGuardia and JFK.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I guess things were a lot looser back in '86.
Oh my God, yes, because then he dropped in sort of like right in the infield. And there's Vince Scully, like, and then Joe Garagiola, like, yeah, well, you didn't have to, like, go through traffic. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly, cracking jokes. And I'm thinking, and again, just fast forward to say, well, okay, I guess that it could have been a terrorist back in '86, but no, not really, because he's just a Mets fan, and he's got his 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah,
and I had totally forgotten about that.
Oh, so did I.
That had totally slipped my mind.
Well, the funny thing is,
I'm like, Oh, yeah, that happened.
I don't remember that, but I read a bunch of shit before I watched the game again. And they got it wrong.
You did your homework. You know, I may be a bit of a triathlete, but you're the better student than I am.
No, that's because I'm a nerd. So, yeah, but I was reading a bunch of that, but they got it wrong because they said, like, right before the game. No, it didn't happen before the game. It happened during, like, right after Buckner's first pitch.
Right. And I guess, I mean, you look back on it, maybe that was the omen. You know, does any good happen when a parachuter jumps and comes in the middle of your at-bat, or a fan man comes into the middle of your ring during your boxing match? Does anything good ever come from that? That'd be a good analytics thing to go over at another time, just to get the spreadsheet going on parachute jumpers, fan men. I guess back in the day, Morgana the Kissing Bandit, that might have been a good thing. I don't know what that did to Picture's ERA after she got done doing her thing.
Oh,
but yeah,
God.
I mean, Bill Buckner got flustered by the parachuter.
But I think we're going to go through more with Bill Buckner just being flustered, period.
Yeah. I mean, he did not have a good game at the plate.
No, he did not. So, like, that happened. And also, too, as they're walking him outside, I think it was, I could be mistaken, but they just, like, walk him through the Mets dugout, and there was, I could be mistaken on who it was. I want to say, crap, who was that half Hawaiian pitcher for the Mets?
He wore number 50? Yeah, I can't think of his name.
God damn it! I know it. I know exactly who it was because he was actually in that horrible movie with Jack Black and oh crap, what's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow.
Jack Black. Oh, Shallow Hal.
Yeah, Shallow Hal.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah. So like he was in that. So Ron Darling. There we go. Thank you. All right.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure it was Ron Darling.
That, by the way.
I'm sorry?
He's a decent broadcaster. I like listening to him call a game. Color commentary.
There's not a lot who are any good. But yeah, so Ron Darling, I'm pretty sure it was Ron Darling who just like, hey, how you doing? And then as they're dragging him out there, like through the Mets bullpen, like, hey, you did well. Holy shit. Happy 1986, guys.
Crazy.
But yeah, top of the first, nothing really happens for Boston.
No, I mean, Wade got his single that was a pinball single. I believe it went off the third baseman's glove, off the shortstop glove, and he made it to first.
Yeah.
And Marty Barrett flied out to center. Bill Buckner flustered by the parachuter.
Yeah, although I shouldn't say nothing happened because like Evans did bring home Boggs.
True.
Yeah, so we got 1-0 Boston off the top of the first. Whether Buckner was flustered or not, I don't know, but I'm gonna believe he is, and I'm gonna go to that later, based on something that Vin Scully said. Because for me, Vin Scully is a god. Bottom of the first, nothing really happens. Clemens, holy shit! Watching young Roger Clemens, holy crap!
I mean, he was on fire. Strikes out Dykstra, strikes out Backman, gets Hernandez to make it out to center, and then you're done. 3 up, 3 down.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was that year that at Exhibition Stadium, I'm pretty sure it was either that year or the year after. No, it's got to be that year that I saw Clemens at Exhibition Stadium.
Yeah. That's 86, man.
Like that would have been also. Yeah. Have you ever been to Toronto during the exhibition?
I did not get there during the exhibition. Never was at Exhibition Stadium.
Well, the exhibition's cool. Exhibition Stadium, not so much.
Okay. I imagine that's been torn down many, many years.
Yeah, no, it has. Pretty much what that is, for those not listening, it's a giant fair right around the world's worst baseball stadium. Safe to say. Like, that stadium was shit for what it was for Major League Baseball. Having said that, it was a pretty cool fair.
Okay. Well, most fairs are very entertaining. When you become of age, you get to hit beer tents and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah. I got a lot of beer stories. I'll leave that for later.
That'll be another podcast show.
Oh, dear God.
On the Not in the Hall of Fame network.
Well, yeah. Do I have a network? Look at that. All right, so the top of the second, the Red Sox are up, and it just feels like I'm trying to remember what I remembered watching this, because I know I watched this game at home. I remember watching it. What sort of trickled to my memory later wasn't the same, but it just felt like the Red Sox were deemed to win the entire time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and again, I'll just insert my own personal feelings here. Being a Yankees fan,
I was going to ask.
This was probably only time I ever rooted for the Mets and took glee in what eventually happened to the Red Sox at the end of the series. But yeah, I mean, it's very, just to be able to watch a game, I don't want to say without any emotional attachment, but to just take it all in. And again, Clemens was dealing. And it's when you got a picture that's on like that, it is fun to watch. And I mean, years later, you had the Glavine and Maddox commercial, Chicks Dig the Long Ball, which was a hysterical ad campaign. If you want, it's on YouTube somewhere. Do yourself a favor if you've never watched it, check it out. It's hysterical. But just seeing someone mow down batters like Clemens, and again, we discussed it earlier, that Mets lineup, it was incredible.
So Glenn, did you grow up because in Buffalo, it's conceivable that you could be a Jays fan, a Yankees fan, a Red Sox fan, a Mets fan, a Pirates fan.
Right, and you're back in, and I can't even remember what year it was, where the Telecommunication Act took control of the national airwaves in our country. Prior to that, and this is with football also, but particularly baseball, you'd obviously get the Blue Jays on whatever Canadian network had them for that season. Yankee games we'd get on WPIX out of New York. Mets games we would get out of, I think, WWOR might have been the TV station. And then, yeah, we'd get the occasional Cleveland game piped in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I think a Pittsburgh game piped in. So, yeah, there were, you would get, I mean, usually Mets or Yankees because, I mean, just the Yankees were around for so long. And you had that short drive down the 90 to Cleveland. I mean, I remember my grandfather telling me stories where they just felt like going to a Yankee game, drive down there and pick up tickets for a scalper for an ungodly low amount of money. They'd get the ticket and they'd be in box seats up down the first base line, which just blew my mind. But yeah, I mean, Western New York is a melting pot. I got the Buffalo Bisons here that are the AAA franchise, and yeah, I think we were the minor league affiliate for the Pirates at one time, the Mets at one time, currently the Blue Jays, and I want to say we were the farm team for the Indians for a while. So you do get a hodgepodge of fan base here, but it is Yankee dominant.
Really? Okay. Oh, yeah. I was kind of curious about that. Yeah. Because when I was growing up, it was all over the place. Well, I mean, obviously it was all Jays. Well, I don't want to say all Jays, but in terms of what you could get elsewhere, it was Yankees or nothing else, really.
Right.
You know, when I was a kid. So I was just sort of curious, like, how it is for you in Buffalo. All right, so we got top of the second. Boston goes up 2-0. Barrett, 2-out single. You don't think of Marty Barrett as a star, but he kind of was a subtle star in this game.
He had a monster game. And we'll get later when we get to the end of this, I'll bring up a point that is just hysterical that falls under the don't count your chickens before they're hatched.
Yep.
Don't do anything until the last out's made, and anything can happen until you hit that 27. But I had a little chuckle at the end of the game in the ninth inning.
I already know where that's going. Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
Yep. Yeah. So 2-0 here on the top of the first. Wow. And watching this at the bottom of the second, Darryl Strawberry versus Roger Clemens, future teammates on Springfield's team. I hope you get that, people listening.
Shave those sideburns, Mattingly.
Nice. Obviously, you did. All right, so
still better than Steinbrenner.
Yeah. So right here, I just want to get to this point. This is something I wanted to ask you right before we go any further. Holy fucking shit! We've got the Red Sox Mets, 1986, Clemens versus Strawberry. Neither of them, because you and I are Hall of Fame people. That's why we became sort of like, well, I'm going to say friends, even though we've never met.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, in this day and age of the internet, your friendship knows no distance or bounds or even person-to-person contact.
Sure. So here we have two of the biggest names then who remained big names. And holy fuck. The amount of non-Hall of Famers in this game who should be Hall of Famers, Clemens, Strawberry, who probably should have been had he not fucked himself up, Dwight Gooden, and I'll get to him later, Keith Hernandez. These are four names who are bigger to me than probably the next four baseball Hall of Famers, which might be, Scott Rowland? I like Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland's not a bigger name than any of these guys.
No, and I think, you got to look at the period, and I'm not sure that voters look at periods. Mm-hmm. They may look at the overall numbers and not realize, when Darryl Strawberry was in the batter's box, you did not go to the concession stand.
Oh, God, no.
And you got to base, and I don't want to get up on my soapbox, but I very well may do that. The analytics, the numbers, they're fine. And if you're talking about a tweener Hall of Famer or something to get over the edge, fine, go by the numbers. But again, we've discussed this in the other platforms. You know these guys' careers. If you were drafting today, who would you draft? And Darryl Strawberry put fear in the hearts of pitchers. He could change the game with one swing. And that's kind of the definition of a Hall of Famer, particularly if he does it for a period of time. That's my opinion.
The ironically thing, though, is that they mentioned how he didn't. Like in this broadcast.
Right.
Yeah, by Scully, which you'll sort of do. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Like Strawberry, for me, one of my closest friends in the world, he grew up a Mets fan, and I'll sort of bring up his fandom now. Loved Strawberry, loved Gooden, hated Gary Carter.
Well, Gooden too. Whenever he took the hill, you watched.
Absolutely. And here we have this Mets team. And
that whole lineup.
Yeah, and I actually brought up some quotes from some of these guys that I want to bring up after. Because this team should have won so much more, and they didn't.
I'm trying to think. What was it? 2 years later, did they made it to the? Did they make it to the National League Championship Series?
I think the year after. I'm not positive.
No, '88. Was it LA and I can't. Who did LA beat to go to the World Series? Was it the Mets?
I'm not positive. I don't know. I did not research my 1988. I just focused on 86.
But you're right about this 86 team should have had 2-3 World Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, while you're looking at that, I will say this. I'm just sort of like bringing up a note that I wrote here by Scully on the top of the first, where he was talking about the immobility of Bill Buckner.
A precursor of things to come.
Yeah, there was more, man. There was a few more. Because that was when Wally Backman was at plate. So there, like,
and was that revolving around the fact that, and again, Garagiola kept bringing up, well, they got to bunt, they got to make him move, and I think he was stressing that. I think in his commentary in the fourth inning, you got to bunt to get something going, and that's just another aspect of where baseball's gone to where they're talking about bunting to get a rally going, and you don't see that today.
Yeah, what's a bunt?
Exactly.
Yeah, what's a bunt? What's a stolen base? And as much as I'm going to shit on Darryl Strawberry did get on base twice and stole twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to shit on Strawberry later. But
it's your show. You can do whatever you want.
It's our show, my friend. But
our show. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Don't have a name for it. Maybe I will in the opening when I re-edit this, but yes. But no, I mean, it's all part of that. And I don't remember who it was who said this. I forget who, but it might have been even a different sport. But again, you and I became acquainted because of 3 words, Hall of Fame.
Right.
The last word in that is fame. Darryl Strawberry will be more famous than, let's say, Scott Rowland or Abreu. Bobby Abreu might. I don't think Abreu will get in, but I think you know the type of player I'm talking about.
Yes. I mean, synonymous with the game.
Yeah. In the 1980s, people paid money to watch Strawberry. Nobody.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know how many people paid to say, like, all right, come on, kid, we're going to go see Scott Rowland hit one out. And I like Rowland, don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on Scott Rowland. I love him. I would love for him to have been a J for like 20 years, and I would have been so happy.
No, I feel you. I feel the exact same way. I mean, he's got all the stats, but I mean, yeah, Darryl Strawberry, not in the Hall of Fame. I don't get it.
Yeah. So second inning, Barrett brings out Barrett.
Good inning for the Mets.
Yeah, but
or no, bad inning.
Well, and,
what am I looking at?
The Red Sox go up 2-0. Barrett with a 2-out single scores a Spike Owen. I forgot all about this guy. And here's an interesting thing, too, because I was a baseball card guy. There's not one guy out of all the players that I saw here that I didn't remember. I remembered every single one of them.
I knew Spike Owen existed. I knew he had a stint with the Yankees for a bit. In fact, I forgot about that. But, yeah, I mean, the whole line, I mean, the Red Sox lineup, the Mets lineup, I mean, those are the names. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Spike Owen wasn't necessarily that guy, but he had a great game for this one. Mm-hmm. Boston's up 2-0, going to the third. Well, I guess a name we should mention here, who was the Mets pitcher, who, if this happened today, Bob Ojeda would have been kicked off the mound. But while I was sort of looking back at the rosters, and I don't know how many pitchers they had on each team, but only 8 pitchers from each team, Red Sox and Mets, like I'm thinking
between the two teams.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking like, holy fuck, like that blew my mind. Which is
I know.
When I'm thinking about like what each team's now got, like it's not impossible that I can see a game now with 8 pitchers go for one team.
No, you're right. You're right. Wait, was it 8 pitchers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 7 pitchers.
Oh, so I saw 8 pitchers from each team who played in the whole World Series.
Oh, okay. From the whole. Wow.
Well, from each side.
In today's game, in the playoffs, I mean, you got arms coming in left and right. That's incredible. I didn't realize that. And
it's not like we've actually added more players, that much more players in the roster.
No, you haven't.
So, like, for me, like, that was, like, one of the more interesting things. So, my gut instinct from a 2021 lens is, like, oh, crap, they're letting Oviedo pitch. Oh, yeah. Of course they are. Who else are they going to bring?
There were a couple of times where they had someone up in the bullpen getting ready to pull Ojeda. Mm-hmm. And he managed to get his 6 innings in. Which, again, solid start. Solid playoff start.
That shit was so unique to me. Like, also, too, like a few things in terms of visuals with that. And we're so in tune to watch how many pitches somebody has.
Mm-hmm.
And this might have been the first game. I don't know if it was the first game, but like this game where they actually talked about how many pitches Clemens had. We'll get to that. But just all this other shit. Vin Scully, after he retired, he said something where he said, like, I'm not sure I could keep going because some of the stats I just can't wrap my head around.
Oh, the analytics got Vin Scully out of the game.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, and one of the ones he said was exit velocity. And about a week and a half ago, Twitter went nuts because Ohtani hit a pitch for a home run for 115 miles an hour. And my first thought was like, what fucking difference does it make?
It's like, it only needs to go over the fence. It doesn't need to go X amount of feet over the fence at 120 miles an hour. I mean, it's a stat that, I mean, we're going back to chicks dig the long ball, and okay, how hard is your long ball? No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, I guess it's just a stat to get people in the stands, get people riled up.
Hey, whatever works, sure, but I looked at that. It's like, okay, does a 90 mile an hour fast exit velocity change how many runs you get? No? Then I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. It's not like unless they put like a big white line in the stands. Like, hey, if you hit it past this white line in the stands, you get an extra run. So like a 3-point line or something like that. But then that's just like video game baseball.
Well, no, it was sort of like taking like what Ohtani did from trying to like put analytics towards something that you can see with your eyes. I don't need your analytics to know that what Ohtani did was fucking impressive. What do I
know? And the fact that he does what he does on the field as a whole is just impressive.
Absolutely.
I mean, the question with him is, can he stay healthy?
I hope so.
And I wish he could stay healthy. Because it'd be fun just to see him play on both ends.
Oh, my God, for sure. So, moving on, we've got third inning, fourth inning, still 2-0 Boston. Barrett does really well on the top of the fifth, hitting off Ojeda, but again, still 2-0. Strawberry does a leadoff walk. I want to bring that up because we're going to talk about Strawberry later, who might be the Sammy Sosa of that day. Because whatever Strawberry did, like, yeah, it's great, but, like, it never counted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so he walks on the bottom of the fifth, and then steals. And, like, when I was watching Strawberry, and this might be sort of like my PED eyes looking at that. So here's a guy who's 6'6". Didn't it feel like 4 feet of him were feet or legs?
Oh, he's all legs. I mean, he's probably got like a 45-inch inseam or something crazy like that. But yeah, I mean, and you know, it's funny. They say, well, stealing bases, the legs get in the way. And they kind of said the same thing with Bernie Williams, how he had the long legs and the galloping strides and really was, well, no, he could steal bases at the right time. And Strawberry got on with a walk, stole second base, and put himself in scoring position. Mm-hmm. I mean, what else do you want in a playoff situation? And he did it all without a bunt, which, again, is depending on what school of thought. If you're going to do the money ball where, okay, we'll take your bunt, we'll take the out, that's fine. But if you can do that without sacrificing, yeah, he did his job in a pressure situation.
Not the best segue that I've ever done, but I've been watching. You ever see DJ Vlad on YouTube?
No.
Okay. So he interviewed, this must have been recent, Jose Canseco. And, yeah, I know there's a lot of jokes there just saying Canseco. But Canseco talked about when he did the 40-40. And he was mentioning how the year before he did that, he really wanted to do that, get 40 stolen bases. And he hired somebody who was a sprint coach. You know, there's something about the art of the stolen base. And again, when I was younger, like, it was not uncommon to see a stolen base guy get, hey, you got 70 stolen bases, so too bad you're third.
Well, no, I mean, the 80s were that was probably the running decade between Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman, mm-hmm. just throwing down insane stolen base numbers. I mean, I don't have it handy, but I mean, I want to say Coleman had an 80 stolen base year, something insane like that. I mean, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I'm trying to look here. I mean, everybody makes a big deal of 40-40. And you pull up someone like Eric Davis, who was quintessential speed and power, had a 37-50 campaign and a 27-80 campaign. But I guess the symmetry of 40-40 makes it all that more majestic. Mm-hmm. So and I'm not saying Eric Davis was better than Jose Canseco or vice versa, but it's just how we look at numbers, and we like the nice round numbers and the 500 home runs, the 100 stolen bases, and what have you, and how just a couple short here and there, a player doesn't get the pub that a Canseco got.
All right, so here we are halfway through the game at the end of the fifth. This was my first gut thing, and I always want to look at the eye test, and sometimes I forget the eye test. When I looked at the eye test of the first 5 innings of this game, there was like 2 superstars. It was Clemens and Strawberry.
Yes.
Even though Strawberry, we're going to talk about later, didn't really sort of like measure up, which also ties in with advanced analytics. In some way.
Yeah, I mean, I look at them, but again, I'm in the eye test. I mean, and we've discussed this with the NFL side of the Hall of Fame, and my love affair with Tasker. How you look at stats, and it just doesn't measure up. But when you watch a guy's career and you see how he affects a game, that matters.
Oh, totally. Before we go into the next thing, there's something that I don't think I forgot to mention. I read an interview with Barry Bonds. This would have been, I want to say pre-PED, potentially. It's when he was a Pirate. And, well, yeah, because he was talking about how his biggest inspiration was a player. Well, I'm probably saying this wrong, but this is the way I remember reading it. From a catcher on his team named Mike LaValliere. Bonds batted lower than LaValliere. If you look up Mike LaValliere, he looked like Spanky from the Little Rascals, which is why he was named Spanky. And then Bonds pretty much said, like, how the hell is somebody who looks like that having a better batting average than me? Mainly because he worked harder than I did. Now,
okay,
that might
makes sense.
Yeah, now that might have been the spiral for other things that he did later. But I mean, I think there's something to it where I'm looking at some of these 80s guys who like when I look at Darryl Strawberry was clearly the best player on that field. He did not have the best game. That should not have happened. But it did.
No, yeah, you're right. And again, the human factor. And again, I just looked at the 86 game and I look at what he did throughout the whole series. I can't remember offhand if he had that great of a series.
He had a bad series.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, he had a terrible series. Scully's going to tell us about it. So I guess we'll move on here. So top of the sixth, we got a 2-2 score. Remains that way. Clemens is batting. I've never seen Roger. Well, I'm sure I have, but I don't remember watching Roger Clemens bat. Watching Roger Clemens bat. Yeah, but didn't it look like he looks like somebody who should know how to bat, and he doesn't?
Well, when you're as big as he is, and as athletic looking as he is at that stage in his career, you would think he would be able to get a couple good swings in.
Which he couldn't.
No. And then that can go back to the whole debate as should pitchers be hitting, but that's, again, for another podcast.
Right. So we go to the bottom of the sixth, and this is the first time I thought, incorrectly, obviously, that when we were going to look at this show, it's like, hey, we're going to look at a baseball game where they're not talking about pitch counts. And they talked about pitch counts. Fuck, was I wrong? So they talked about Clemens opening the bottom of the sixth with 99 pitches going into it. Like, I don't remember in the 80s people talking about pitch counts, but obviously I was wrong. Like, any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I thought pitch count was pretty much last decade and this decade, and 80s, they just pretty much threw them out there and say, here, throw until your arm falls off.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, a different era. I mean, I don't know if they paid attention to pitch counts. I mean, maybe the announcers pointed it out. But, I mean, you look at, what Nolan Ryan put up, and these are hard throw. I mean, it's not like these are curveball, softball pitchers that are put, or even, well, you can't really count the knuckleball as I got to watch what I say here. Knuckleballers could stay out there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like in their heyday, the Roger Clemenses, the Nolan Ryans could stay out there for a long time, but they're throwing gas.
I think with this bottom of the sixth here, so he fans Carter and Strawberry back to back. And then there's a graphic that comes up how Strawberry's has been stranded 11 batters in 5 games. I had Sammy Sosa flashbacks. And shit like that. And then Carter, and then they go to Carter, who's miserable. It's like, holy shit, that man perm.
You didn't like that?
I don't know that. Okay, well, The funny thing is, too, well, I don't know that I liked it. I think I could pull that off brilliantly because I'm just that guy. But
maybe you could.
I think I could.
Maybe you could.
I could. But I did a Google search, just because I was talking to a good friend of mine, one of my closest friends back in Canada, loves the Mets from that era. He's got his strawberry retro jersey, his good retro jersey, but he hates Gary Carter.
Nice.
Hates Gary.
Well,
and it might be because he's black and Carter's white. And I asked him that, and he says, "Yeah, probably."
Oh, well, at least he's honest.
Oh, totally. So we'll bring that up. And then I looked at Gary Carter at that point, and then I found. Right before we started, I called you up. Carter, the Mets. This is a good time to sort of talk about the shitstorm that was the Mets.
Well, it is New York City.
It is. But I mean, they were complete. Okay, let me bring this up here. It was something I found from Dwight Gooden, letter to my younger self on the Atlantic or Players Tribune. If I could. I'm gonna read from Dwight Gooden here.
Go right ahead.
All right. From Dwight Gooden. I can't believe I have to tell you this, but the reason fans are following you to the grocery store is because you decided to put a strip that said Mr. Dwight on the windshield of your Camaro. You'll remember this car as the one with the bunny rabbits painted on the sides. Oh, and the big fuzzy dice. Try to practice a little discretion. The Jerry curl. Large medallion. The gold teeth. Your rocking won't do you much to help you blend in either. Your teammates won't say shit to you. I'm paraphrasing here. But they're talking about you. I fucking am so happy I found this.
I'm just trying to get the visual going right now.
Yeah. And that's Gooden just pretty much because here we have a Mets team. Dwight Gooden, Keith Hernandez, Strawberry, thank you. 3 players who snorted their way out of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, basically, which is... I'm not going to... Well, I mean, cocaine is a stimulant, so in theory, it should help their performance, but I guess if you abuse anything, there is detrimental effects on your playing of the baseball game.
Well, there's that, but there's also what they're using that to overcome their partying of the nights before.
And I think we've touched on it a little bit in the baseball forum when we talk about the performance enhancing. But I mean, you look at, and it might be New York. And I don't know how much of the movie 61 was based on fact. Mm-hmm. But you look at what Mickey Mantle did the night before games, and the fact that there's bowls of greenies in the locker room for players to get themselves up to play the next day. I mean, I guess it's just choose your drug depending on what era you're in.
Sure. But there's still something to the fact that, I can't say, not so much for Hernandez, but when you and I saw Strawberry and Gooden in the 80s, and then those two players survived through the 90s just based on what talent they had left. Though, that should have been Ken Griffey and Bob Gibson. And they weren't.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So it's this Mets team should have been to a hell of a lot more than just one World Series.
Oh, absolutely. And they did get to the 88 National League Championship Series and lost in 7 to the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. But that was just Oral Hershiser's year. I mean, he was amazing that year.
That might be a future show. But yeah, like the whole Mets thing. Oh shit! Let me bring up something here from this, which I think is good here. From Gooden. Let me bring this up here. All right, here's another thing. Take a moment to thank the Lord that social media will not exist during your playing career. The entire 1986 team would have been locked up.
And you know what? I think every athlete, what's the time frame here? Probably from the beginning of time to 2000 and whatever year, Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff came out, are thankful that there was no such thing as social media.
Oh, no doubt.
There was no such thing as phones with cameras or anything of the like, because all our heroes would probably be in a lesser light.
Michael Jordan, we're looking at you. But, I want to go back to that before we sort of go back to this game. This is sort of why I consider just life the great equalizer. I really do. Because...
Life's the great equalizer.
Here,
go ahead. I can't wait to hear this.
All right. They're all shitting on Gary Carter. Gary Carter's dead. Hernandez is alive. Strawberry is alive. Gooden is alive. I was out when I was back in the mountains in Canada. There was this girl. She would work her ass off. She's doing all this stuff. It's I can't believe you're out here drinking. Yeah, I'm gonna outlive you. What do you mean? Look at you. You've called in sick 15 fucking times, you goddamn cunt. I never have.
Oh.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
So what is that woman doing these days?
but I'm gonna I looked at her and said, I'm gonna outlive you. I will outlive you. I'm a complete train wreck. And here's what I've learned from studying athletes. We all die around the same time.
You're right.
Kind of.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Moving on.
No, I strike that. We got to keep that segment in here.
Oh, no, I'm keeping it in. I'm not editing anything yet. It's way too much work.
Okay, where are we? Strawberry grounded up.
Top of the seventh. Top of the seventh. We've got so McDowell.
We've got a pitching change.
Yeah, Roger McDowell enters the game. Barrett comes out. Buckner, he's out again. Rice gets on, and the big thing. Ray Knight overthrows. Yes. And did you remember that Ray Knight used to date or was married to Nancy Lopez?
I do remember that, and the only reason I know that is for some reason my grandfather was infatuated with that. And every time Ray Knight would come up, now he's married to Nancy Lopez. Or if you remember back in the day, or at least in America, we did the Sunday or whatever golf on CBS, and they showed an LPGA tour event. Nancy Lopez, again, was a very good golfer in the day. And my grandfather, she's married to Ray Knight, and I don't know what his infatuation was with that. Every time, and then maybe it's just, old people getting old, they like to point out things. But I swear to God, every time, Ray Knight, Nancy Lopez.
Well, you know what it was.
That's that. But yes, I did know that.
Okay, but let's look back here. Nancy Lopez was moderately attractive, right?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, my friend.
All right, so for a golfer in the mid-'80s, let's just say a female athlete, who's she up against?
I don't know. Who is the female athlete up against?
I don't know, Chris Everett, and she was sort of near done.
Now you bring Chris Everett up. I had let's say 12-year-old Glenn had a nice crush on her.
I'm not dumping on Chris Everett or Nancy Lopez. I'm just saying that for the people who are I guess, younger now and looking at female athletes, there's a lot of attractive women athletes. There was not in the early 80s.
Let me think about that.
Who?
Chris, oh my God, you're right.
So, I mean, because here's how I remember it. I remember Nancy Lopez being this hot golfer, and then I look back, because for the show, I look back at, like, pictures of that, like, oh, really? I used to think she was hot. No, she was as hot as the options that existed.
There's got to be an Olympic athlete. I mean, trying to say, well, Mary Lou Retton was too young.
Olympics only matter once every 4 years, and back
this is
then,
true.
And back then, that was the same year with summer and winter.
And I'm trying to think of, I mean, that period of time. What was the women's sports landscape like outside of tennis?
Okay,
what would make it on TV? Your LPGA tour would make it on TV.
That's it. There was no basketball.
You're right.
There was no women's basketball
in the Olympics every 4 years.
Right. So, I mean, like, and even then, like, as weird as it was, figure skating, which is arguably the biggest women's one, who was, you said Dorothy, did you say Dorothy Hamill?
Yes.
All right, so Dorothy Hamill, that was 76. There was no games, what was there in 80? There was in 1980, but I don't remember who won that.
Like Paslawski was 80.
Okay, so...
Did you say you don't remember 1980?
Well, not for figure skating, I don't.
Oh, okay. No, I don't. Well, yeah, yeah, you're right. I don't remember figure skating.
Hockey, I do, but figure skating, I don't have a clue. I don't know who won.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So there wasn't that, and I know that sort of sounds very sexist, but let's be honest, that's what it is.
No, in the 80s, absolutely. I mean, look at the landscape today.
Mm-hmm.
You have the WNBA. You have the various professional hockey organizations that are trying to get up and running, and women's hockey has become big in Olympic years.
That's
you have the soccer, which has just exploded, women's soccer, particularly with the recent, in the U.S. with the women winning the World Cup.
Yeah.
And the bomb that they're finally pushing and attempting to get equal pay with the men's program, who, let's face it, the men's soccer program in the U.S. has done shit. Yet they get paid more versus the women's team that basically has all our World Cups. So go figure.
Yep. But yeah, back then, Nancy Lopez was a big deal in terms of women's sports. So I remember her around that time as one half of the Nancy Lopez Ray Knight power couple. That's how I remember it.
Yeah, you beat me to the first sports power couple.
Are they even still together? I have no idea.
That's probably an easy Google search.
Nah, I don't care. Anyway.
Yeah, you're already married. You can't. You're not proposing to Nancy Lopez anytime soon.
No. I don't think that was ever even something I was even considering. I have certain things that I like, and she doesn't fit that criteria.
Okay, what inning are we in?
Yeah, top of the seventh.
Top of the seventh.
Yeah, top of the seventh. Yeah, so that's pretty much all about Ray Knight's overthrow. And NBC and Scully, they're just sort of like promoting how this is... It's going to be Ray Knight's fail.
Yes. Yeah, and it's funny going further on when the Mets do eventually make a comeback and how relieved Ray Knight is and how he didn't blow the game for them. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
I mean, they sort of play that. And I guess it's what they sort of have to do when they don't have a bunch of mile per hour stats that they have to run with. Bottom of the seventh, 3 up, 3 down, and Clemens is finished off after 135 pitches. Holy fuck.
That's crazy.
Which is
crazy.
now to think about. I mean, back then it wasn't.
No, I just couldn't. And who knows if he could have gone more? I mean, he. What happened in the top of the eighth?
He probably could have.
Dave Henderson got on. Owen sacrifice bunted, and then Clemens was coming up.
Well,
so you figure if none of that happens, does Rogers swing for himself and then come out for the bottom of the inning?
Maybe. But, like, in the bottom of that seventh, this is where, like, the Vin Scully commentary just drives me to where to think, like, he's, like, he's either a gypsy or the world's greatest prognosticator. Because in there he says, he goes on Buckner, like, look at that, he changed his footwear here based on that because he was trying to run to catch a foul ball. And then Garagiola, he's leading the series in conversations. Buddy, holy shit.
I do like your impersonations.
Oh, thank you. My Scully's okay. My Garagiola, I know, is not good. I'll admit that. Vin Scully to me is a god. I'll say Garagiola was good work because he knew when to shut the fuck up.
Which is, and funny you mentioned that, and I didn't realize this, and I don't know how long Scully did it for, but back in the day when I first got DirecTV and they do like the first 2 weeks of the baseball season, you get the free baseball package. And at the time, I'd work 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. and come home and throw on the game. Obviously, there'd be an LA Dodgers game on. Mm-hmm. And I'd sit down and I'm watching it, and Vin's doing his thing, going through first inning, second inning, third inning. And this is the first time I've ever watched a Dodgers home game telecast. And I'm listening. Here it is, the fourth. I'm thinking, he's got no one in the booth with him. He's doing this game solo. And that just blew my mind.
And nor does he need anyone. Vince, and again...
No, he didn't. Because it just flows.
I want to say this openly to the people who aren't listening, because they're not. But...
Come on, we got tens of listeners.
Tens? I'd like to think hundreds. But still, 3 digits, nevertheless. All right. I don't care what somebody looks like. If they're good at what they do, just let them fucking broadcast. That's it. And like in Vin Scully, they sort of got that. Vin Scully, not that he was an unattractive individual, but like when you look at local broadcasts for, like, do you have the MLB package?
I do not currently.
Okay, so I do, and it's like one talking head after the other. Just like, I don't care what somebody looks like. I don't see them. What do I care?
So I'm guessing what you're getting at is in today's era of, I don't know, media friendliness and promotion and whatnot, they're basing their booth on what people look like and not their qualifications.
Well, they have been for years, but yes. And Vin is just like one of those guys, and I can just think about like when I was a kid, like at some point in time, you and I are going to like cover an old NFL game with Pat Summerall and John Madden, and somebody would look at John Madden and say like, no, because he's fucking entertaining.
Yeah, and I don't understand how sports got to that point.
I don't know.
Because I mean, when did it become a glamour position to be in the booth where you got to have the Halloween? I mean, I want the voice. I want the rhythm. There's something just good.
It never did.
I think you addressed it as being spiritual about a good play-by-play announcer.
It never did, Glenn. It never did. It's just somebody who got that in their head. And it got in my head because that's something that I wanted to do when I was a kid, and I convinced myself I couldn't do it.
Well, again, maybe it's because you are looking beyond, well, your local. I was going to say your local market, but your local market is void of any type of sports, I guess. Oh, you're still in the. Where are you again?
Well, I'm in Barbados, but I'm just saying, like, when I was a kid growing
Right.
up in Canada.
Right. But I'm even talking currently. I mean, just looking at the Buffalo market, I mean, New York Yankees, you have Michael Kay. He's nothing to look at. He's not great, but he has his moments. John Sterling on the radio broadcast. He looks hideous, but he has his moments with some really great calls. Locally, from a hockey standpoint, why can't I think of his name? The Buffalo Sabres play-by-play guy. Rick Jeanneret. He's never been a Hollywood-looking person. But, man, can he call a hockey game?
Because that's all that matters.
And you look at the old CBC Hockey Night in Canada, Dick Irving and Harry Neal. Mm-hmm. I mean, they looked like nothing from a media Hollywood standpoint. But, man, listening to them call games was just phenomenal.
Because I don't know who it was that sort of like took that over to make people sort of like think that, but just like let people decide. And that might be why a lot of people hate Joe Buck. Joe Buck is not a bad announcer, but Joe Buck looks like the person who people would hate. I think Joe Buck's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good. And he just so happens to have decent looks, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that's why a lot of people say, like, I don't want to like this guy no matter what he does because he's the pretty boy with the blonde fake hair.
Well, time will equal everything out. When he's doing games when he's 60, 70, and 80, he'll look ugly.
Or not. Moving on.
We all look ugly when we're 60, 70, 80.
I don't know. I'm near 50. I look a hell of a lot better than I did at 25.
Well, I guess like a fine wine, you're getting better with age.
There's that. I mean, I'm just like alcohol. I'll leave it at that. Top of the 8th. Boston remains up 3-2. Loaded for Bill Buckner, and he couldn't do anything. Kind of a force.
Again, it's the parachuter jinx.
It is. I honestly think so. I really do. Bottom of the 8th, and Schiraldi comes in, former Met. Vin Scully is really pushing that. We got the double switch with, not double switch. Lee Mazzilli comes in. Here's somebody who came into bunt as I don't know if he was a rookie then. Len Dykstra. What do you remember of him?
Len Dykstra with the 86 Mets. I remember him being contact hitter with a little pop, some speed on the base path, decent fielder. Mm-hmm.
So not the bankrupt guy who loves Trump?
Well, really, you really want to push my buttons, huh? No, but the best thing about Lenny Dykstra...
Glenn, I follow you on Twitter. I know what buttons to push.
I know you do. Don't make me block you, Kirk. I can't remember what it was. And then getting a little bit off topic, Lenny Dykstra retired from baseball and then got into the financial sector. He later got pumped up by Jim Cramer being a guest on his show, Mad Money, several times. And then maybe a couple of years later, he was never invited to the show because he had some underdealings and illegal shenanigans going on in the financial sector. And I can't remember if he got put or sent to jail or just
he did.
banned.
Yeah, he went to jail.
Okay. So, yeah, he got his. So that's fine. But, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so that inning is where the Mets, tied it back up. Gary Carter, sacrifice fly, brings it back in. So 3-3 going into the top of the 9th. Double switch, Aguilera to pitch.
Rick Aguilera. Mm-hmm. There's a name. And you had mentioned Lee Mazzilli earlier. There's another name. All these. Is it?
Yeah. Former Blue Jay for a cup of coffee, if I remember right. But, nothing sort of like really went there. So, like, it remained 3-3 at the end of the top of the 9th. Remained that way in the bottom of the 9th.
And then,
go ahead.
No, but you're. I mean, little. What what would we had a walk by night, fielder's choice, bunt.
I also remember too, like watching the broadcast. So like even the here we got Ray Knight here. Here's what he looks like right now. I know it's a terrible Vin Scully impression, but and here he is, kind of like a moping here, looking like he's taking a dump, but no, he could win the whole thing.
Yeah, they were pushing that hero aspect.
They were pushing the hero. They were also pushing the GOAT, which is kind of funny too. Which reminds me, like, remember when we were younger? Remember back when we were younger, and the GOAT meant like you were shucked, and now a GOAT means greatest of all time.
You're right. It's funny how that comes around. You're absolutely right.
Because
the GOAT.
Yeah, they were ready, sort of like put Ray Knight in. What do you call it? They were ready to give him like the injection, the lethal injection.
You're the scapegoat of this game. You cost the Mets a chance at Game 7, and let's just banish you.
There was actually something here. I want to go back a couple innings here too.
Okay.
Where Buckner, I forget what it was. It was like a foul ball, and there was Scully saying like, "There's Buckner, sort of like limping here for it." And he can't really get to it. Looks like it was a bit of a like Cirque du Soleil, whatever the hell. They were like indicating how Buckner can't do shit on the field multiple times.
Yeah. Then that goes back to the why aren't they bunting at Buckner? Make him work, make him try to play his position.
Which, holy foreshadowing. So top of the 10th. Dave Henderson, who I wasn't sure if that was Dave Henderson or Florida Evans from Good Times.
Second reference of the broadcast.
All right, thank you. I didn't know if anyone got that. But solo shot.
I'm here for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was a shot. I thought right then, again, looking at this, I'm like, man, how did the Red Sox lose this? They got a home run, and then the inning gets even better for them.
Totally. So then 2 strikeouts, Owen and Schiraldi. Boggs doubles, Barrett singles him home. Buckner hit by pitch, which is the highlight of his game, which is so sad. But, Rice flies out. They leave. It's 5-3. You look, they're doing shots in the Red Sox bullpen. You got it. You got this. Or dugout, sorry.
Yeah, shots in the bullpen. I mean, you look at the win probability going into the bottom of the 10th. The Mets have a 4% chance to win this game. Mm-hmm. Now let's fast forward to 2021 if this game was being played. Mm-hmm. You got your FanDuel, you got whatever other online app betting that does in-game betting. You look at 4%. Maybe I should put maybe a 20 spot on this 4% chance of the Mets coming back to win this game. At least that's how I was thinking about it when I was going through some of this, watching the game, obviously knowing how it ends.
Yep.
I'm just, okay, let's buckle up and see where this is going, because we know where it's going, but it's just unbelievable that 4% chance to win that game going into the bottom of the 10th.
Do you remember if you watched this game live back then?
I had to go back and see. I mean, again, we're talking, I was 11 at the time.
Yep.
I'm 40 right now. And, yeah, I mean, it's tough to – I do remember watching it, but again, the memories just drift away. Mm-hmm. And it was very pleasurable watching this again, saying, oh, yeah, that happened, and I can't remember how dominant – again, I've said before during this show that how dominant Clemens was, and just repeatedly thinking to myself, how did the Red Sox lose this game? And then you mentioned it as we were doing like the monumental past game series, and thinking about it, well, it wasn't monumental for Buckner. It was horrible for the Red Sox fans. And I can't remember, I don't know how old our mutual friend Secondhand Burrito is. If he was laying in a corner in a fetal position while everything was going on in the bottom of the ninth. But yeah, I mean, it has its place because this is, again, and then we're going to get to it, this is the Buckner game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sit down and look at it and how overwhelmingly it's just the fact that the Mets were not going to come back in the bottom of the 10th.
No.
And then everything happened.
No, and it shouldn't have. Because also, too, as I'm looking back, and here's the shit I didn't remember accurately. So we start off in the bottom of the 10th. 2 outs right away because who went out?
Yeah, I didn't remember that. I didn't remember that they were down to their last out.
Yeah, so Backman flied out, Hernandez flied out. I forgot this completely. So that they were down 5-3, with like one thing left. It's like, okay,
right.
Like if I was one of those Mets fans in the stands, like no wonder they went fucking nuts. Like how can they not? So and the broadcast too. And I used to watch as a kid. NBC used to have the game of the week, and I had a flashback watching that where they had like, and here we got our Miller Lite play of the game, and it's Marty Barrett. It's like,
yeah, I have that written down.
Yeah,
I think I even paused the game thinking, oh, okay, 2 outs. The Mets have, at this point, a 1% chance to win. Let's call Marty Barrett our player of the game. And again, let's look at his stat line. I mean, he had an incredible game.
Mm-hmm.
Where is he? There's Marty. He went 3 for 4, had 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 4 assists in the field. I mean, come on.
And they have to.
See why you would call him player, but again, I guess if you want to bring, I guess it's the jinx where you're giving out players. But again, I guess you have to do that before the end of the game, and because it's sponsored by Miller Lite, you have to do it with the game still, I guess, in doubt, but not really. If it's a 1% chance that the Mets are going to come back, but yeah, poor Marty is a player of the game, and I don't know whether they gave anything out for that, but yeah, he's had that taken from him.
Yeah, and then they also like put up a graphic because they didn't put up a whole lot of graphics. So
that's another thing about the whole broadcast and how I brought up of how we ever watched sports back in that day.
I know, right? It's like how the hell did we ever watch sports without knowing how many pitches and like how fast so and so like pitched? But we did.
Pitches, outgores, all that fun stuff. The player's average, his RBI. I mean, that stuff is constantly up or on the screen somewhere, and there it's just there's nothing up.
Like, I'm sure there are some like kids who might have watched this old game like, wait a minute, how the hell did he know how to pitch there without knowing where that box was?
Come on! I'd like to give today's youth better credit than that.
I give them no credit, Glenn.
I have to give them credit because those are going to be the ones responsible for paying my Social Security.
I don't live in this country anymore, so I don't care.
I do. That's why I said I have to worry about that. You're in Barbados. You're living lap of luxury on island time.
Now, for now, I'll probably be moving somewhere else, buddy. But moving on.
Your wife's not entrenched in the hospitality industry down there?
She is, but eventually her career is going to bring us somewhere else.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, get your tan in now.
I can't. I just go red.
Sunscreen. Tan gently.
Tangentially. Tangentially, a new film from Roger Corman. So they bring up the screenshot here. All right, so the Chicago Cubs haven't won anything since 1909, the White Sox 1917, and the Red Sox 1918. And
there it is, the ultimate jinx. The ultimate jinx.
It is, but I mean, obviously that's ready there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's at someone's fingertips.
So then they point to Dennis Boyd with the worst. All I know is this: if this is your nickname, I don't want you as my teammate, Oil Can.
You don't like Oil Can?
I like oil can as long as you're not my teammate. Dennis Oil Can's gonna have the game off tomorrow, looks like. Oh, Gary Carter. So Gary Carter finally does something offensively. Kevin Mitchell, here's the thing. I forgot that he was a Met.
No, he was. I remember that. I think I want to say at one point I had his rookie card, the 1986 Topps variety, which again, once it got to the 80s, it just plummeted in value, which is neither here nor there. But yeah, I had his rookie card, and it was the Mets, and then he went on to the Giants after that?
Yeah, well, because he was, like, the way I always remembered Kevin Mitchell was as like a one-year wonder with the Giants with this monster power. I forgot completely that he was a Met. This was the only player that I did not remember at all for that particular team. But pinch hit for Aguilera. So he's at first, Carter's at second. Ray Knight's up, and they've already sort of like made him sort of like the recovering star. Did you notice all the toilet paper in the background?
In this state, with Ray Knight in the game, they got bumped up to a 19% chance to win.
Okay. So did you see like all the toilet paper up like behind him? It's like,
oh yeah, what the hell's going on there?
That blew my mind.
I was the picture at that time.
Mm-hmm.
In looking at it, you're on the ropes. You're like, okay, can we get someone to get that toilet paper removed just to give yourself a breather?
And it's just sort of there.
Oh, I know.
Which, again, I think I'm just sort of like going back to like everything that's sort of like going on in the field from like when we talked earlier in the game. When just, all right, well, toilet paper's there. Like, we're not going to do anything about that because like we just had some guy just showed up. Like, what the fuck?
Today's game, you got people picking up whatever cups fall onto the field, and everything's pristine and perfect and whatnot. And yeah, toilet paper and behind the plate.
Not only that, I believe there's a fucking sniper. Like, holy shit. Like, this isn't happening. But anyway, Knight comes up, Knight singles, Carter scores. All right, then Bob Stanley, who I think, this is just my opinion, is one of the greatest middle relievers of all time. Comes in.
Yes.
Yep. And Mookie Wilson, here's what I remembered from that. Like, when you go back to the history, it's like, okay, Bill Buckner cost them the World Series. Well, okay, he didn't. He cost them a game.
No, because there was a Game 7.
Right. But people don't remember it that way because that's the way shit goes. Mookie Wilson, the way I remembered it in my head, it was not how it went. Because I remembered Mookie Wilson sort of thinking like Otis Nixon. And this is my Jays fandom. Because like when Otis Nixon was the last at-bat for the 1992 Jays, Nixon couldn't do shit, and he just bunted to try to get on, and he failed because he was Otis Nixon. Mookie Wilson fouled off 6 pitches or 5 pitches.
Right.
And so he finally gets a ball through. Buckner didn't have to move that much, and then there was another thing before we get to that to what happened to Buckner. Another thing from Scully. Here we got Buckner. Look at that. He's now not wearing 2 high tops. He was yesterday. Didn't really go into that. Obviously, he's playing with his head in terms of what do you call it? Not paranoia, superstition.
Right.
What the hell was going through Bill Buckner's head when that went through? And before we get there, Boston was up 2 runs. In Game 1 and Game 2...
going to the bottom of the ninth, they were up 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Game 1 and Game 2 of the World Series, Buckner was pulled for Stapleton, Dave Stapleton, because of Buckner's shitty defense. And if you didn't believe Buckner couldn't play defense, listen to Vin Scully. He'll tell you. well before this game, before the 10th inning, that Bill Buckner couldn't move shit.
Yes. But, I mean, and again, looking at what happens, what's coming up, I mean, not that you and I are the greatest of athletes.
You're better than me.
I'd like to think that we'd be able to go down to the ground, see the ball into our mitts, get back up, and touch first base.
Sure. But I bring this up because here we have a guy who was mediocre at defense. He was a great smack hitter. That's what he could do, and he did it well for years and years and years. Bill Buckner had over 2,700 hits, and there are piles of Hall of Famers who can't say that. But he's also somebody with a total B WAR, if we want to believe into that, and I do. So WAR of under 20, well under 20. And McNamara.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to
say, with that being said, I mean, and I'm trying to remember back to that era, was the defensive substitution in vogue?
It was because McNamara pulled him twice in Game 1 and Game 2.
Okay, then I don't know why he was still in while you were up.
No, I can answer that because I remember reading this because like McNamara said, because he just loved Buckner. He says like, I want him to be on the field when we win the World Series.
Well, then let him sit at the top of the dugout. He's still on the field.
Okay, so I guess what I want. Well, I guess here's where I'm sort of like going because like Bill Buckner, who was the hairiest person since Peter Gallagher. Thank you for getting that reference. Like, because not a lot of people would. Like, holy shit! You look back at old pictures of that, and like, man, that's not a neck beard. That's a neck forest.
Oh yeah. I'll give you that.
Thank you. So, but it was the closest thing to my name, so I love this guy. So,
sure.
Looking back at all this stuff, and then just because I remember reading this, I couldn't find it online, but I do remember this reading it like it was yesterday, where McNamara said like it's my fault because he was trying to pull all the blame from that. It's like, okay, was it really his fault? And then I look back. Like the stat lines. Okay, so he did do it on the road in Game 1 and Game 2. He pulled him for Stapleton.
And what inning did he do that in?
Was
it after he had his last at bat? I'm assuming.
That I don't know. I just know it would have been late.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
Right.
But
well, then
But at that point though, I mean, like if you're up 5-3 going in like at the 10th. You can pull them because you're up 2.
Yeah, I'm making sure my best defensive team is on the field for these last 3 outs.
Right. So it's not. So when everyone blames Buckner, and there's a lot of blame that should be. There's on Buckner. There's also on Stanton because he had a wild pitch.
Right.
Like before that moved Knight went like a base.
Yeah, Mitchell scored Knight. Yeah.
Yes. There's McNamara who put on somebody who left somebody there that he knew because he's done it before was shit defensively.
Obviously.
Yeah. And then so what do we have after that? So this is a game where Bill Buckner did not cost the Boston Red Sox the World Series, much like Steve Bartman did not cost the Chicago Cubs a World Series appearance. It was a series of events.
There were instances, and there was still time left. There were other games to play. Right.
Buckner, who was shit that World Series, finally had 2 hits in Game 7. But it didn't matter. Here's what I remember of Game 7 going into it. Man, I hope Buckner wins, but he won't. And he didn't.
Always the eternal optimist.
Well, no, because it was like, okay, you're a Yankees fan. I just learned this, honestly, when this started. I'm a Jays fan, as I'm guessing you assumed. I don't know how it is. Like,
Yes.
okay, so like when the Yankees can't win, what's your fandom if you have no team that you hate? I'm assuming you hate the Red Sox.
I despise the Red Sox.
All right, makes sense.
In fact, I refuse to date women because they like the Red Sox.
Damn. All right, so let's say you have that's pretty hard. So let's say you have Padres versus Rays in the World Series. Who
do I go for?
Well, yeah, because I mean, like, there's no reason you're going to hate the Rays. I know they're in your division, but there's no.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is I'm a very spiteful man.
So am I. But
and I mean, last year I was going for the Dodgers.
All right.
Again,
so, okay, fine. All right, Padres, White Sox, then.
You know, I see that's tough. If I don't have an emotional interest in a game, I'm going to watch it and hope that it's a good game.
Okay.
Versus versus the Padres as a White Sox fan, where either team is hoping to just destroy the other one, so there's very little tension and Maalox moments to where they're going to have ulcers at the end of this 7-game World Series.
Okay.
Versus me wanting to see that 7-game World Series, maybe some extras involved and maybe some walk-offs or some fantastic endings to these games.
Yeah, see, for me, it's like, okay, what fan base do I think wants the most once my team's out?
Okay. And then you root for the fan base that wants it the most or needs it the most?
Yeah, in a lot of cases, needs it the most.
See, you're a nice guy. I'm vindictive. I don't take the fans' feelings into account.
That's the Canadian in me.
This is true. I've never met a mean Canadian.
Yeah, but you're pretty much almost a pseudo-Canadian, in a way.
See, I'm not nice enough.
You know, okay, maybe. Maybe, but okay, I'll say this. Like, and this is just me following you on Twitter. Give everyone your Twitter thing if you can, again, because I think it's pretty much free.
I am Glenn at Kona Dreams. There's multiple S's at the end, so if you just search, you'll be able to find Glenn at Kona Dreams and see all my entertaining sports, politics, and other vindictive tweets that I may send out depending on what mood I'm in.
So I think for me as a Canadian, right, like I just sort of like look at you as, all right, you've come up with all this with this edge fest and stuff that nobody would make any sense of, like in the early 90s. like Our Lady Peace and bands that mean nothing to anyone other than border bands out of Toronto.
But you know that's what I mean. That's the benefit of living close to a border. And I'm not even talking about the United States, Canada. I mean, if you're United States, Canada, United States, Mexico, or even if I assume if you're in Europe and you're on borders where you're allowed to mix cultures, which involve sports, music, theater, you draw from that. And it's a better way to be, I guess, living through life, to embrace everything and being in close proximity with Canada. Yeah, I mean, there's no border up preventing 102.1 from getting across or 97.7 Hits FM from coming across the border and listening to these Canadian bands that you won't hear because our American radio won't play them.
Well, right there, buddy.
And I don't know what the point of that was, but yeah, I guess the point was, yeah, I am pseudo-Canadian just based on cultural appreciation.
Well, I guess here's my pseudo point, just only because to bring out like why you and I are sort of like involved in something, because you and I are both part of the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, and how does a Canadian come up with that For the same reason that you just described, borders. I grew up infatuated with American sports growing up in Toronto.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, I think my love of hockey over the beloved Buffalo Bills stems from that. The Hockey Night in Canada, the Buffalo Sabres, and probably more from the fact that I'm a horrible skater and can appreciate everything that's going on ice, which is just incredible. And I don't know how many of our listeners are hockey fans, but I've had many friends, particularly when I went to college, who had never been to a hockey game. And I went to college an hour east of Buffalo, and we'd come back home and get hockey tickets, and it'd be their first hockey game that they've ever seen. And at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh my God, this is the best game on earth!" Like, man, you can thank the Canadians for that.
Yeah, once in a while we come up with something. That and beer.
And wait, was this curling Canadian, or did some other culture develop that?
I don't know. I know nothing about curling.
Oh, you might have your passport taken away.
I might. I know that I've got a few friends who are actually one of my good friends was one one rock away from the Olympics.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah. But on that, we've got to figure out what we're going to do next time. Glenn, I told you what we're going to talk about, so you have to decide what we're going to do next time.
Are we done with this game? Are we done with this game?
I think we're done with this game, yeah. Well, let's finish off here. The Mets won the World Series. The Mets should have done a hell of a lot more. The Red Sox were the Red Sox then and remained in purgatory.
For another 20-plus years, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that should be put in purgatory, the end-of-game interviews. Marv Albert, what the hell was he doing with his hairdo?
With a fake hair? He's had the same fucking toupee forever.
That is toupee?
Yes!
You know, you're working for a major television network. You would think you'd be able to afford something that looks better than like a dead raccoon on your head.
Well, you've had a president who had bad hair.
He's not. Really? You had to go there. I hate you. Okay, yeah. This podcast's over. Let's.
All right, so Glenn, you get to pick the way it sort of works, like with some of the other shows we're doing. You get to pick whatever we're doing next time. I will send you a few things, and it's all up to you.
Oh, man, the pressure. I hope I can handle that and go forward with this wonderful Not in Hall of Fame organization.
Yeah, Not in Hall of Fame and organization might be two words that don't go together, but that works.
Not Hall of Fame disorganization.
Works for me, man.
Organization. I got to get the I in there.
Nice. Thanks for being part of this. I think this could be a real fun series. Just looking back at sports events that we don't remember the way it really was. And I didn't remember this the way it was.
No. And again, we were both children, I guess.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah, you think about it. This could get very depressing depending on what era we stick to and our misspent youth and where the fuck is the time gone. And, I might need a beer.
All right, I'm going to say this. Based on your sort of like Can USA thing, I'm going to save one for just you. So whoever else wants to sort of like be part of this, they can. But the Ben Johnson 1998 thing is exclusive to you. Because I think that's a Can USA thing for sure.
Absolutely. Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson.
Oh, dear God. I have so many memories of that, including some quotes from my dad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my dad saying, like, why the fuck are we sort of like wasting all this money just to get some guy to say he took steroids? Fuck! because we did do that.
Oh, man. That household must have been interesting growing up.
Yeah, maybe I'll get him to take a quote here, record it, and just put it there. I think that'll be good. That might be our next thing. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All right, awesome. All right, let's lock this in the vault. Thanks all for listening. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks again for listening. There's going to be a lot more content coming from us at nonhalloffame.com. Stay tuned.